The royal necklace incident. The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of Buckingham Palace as Queen Camilla prepared for what she believed would be a routine royal engagement. She had no idea that this particular Tuesday would become one of the most embarrassing moments of her royal career, witnessed by palace staff and later whispered about in every corner of the royal household. Camilla stood before her ornate dressing mirror, carefully selecting jewelry for the day's charity gala. Her fingers traced over several precious pieces before settling on her most treasured possession, a magnificent diamond and sapphire necklace that had cost more than most people's homes. The necklace was her pride and joy, a symbol of her status and taste. Its centerpiece was a rare blue diamond surrounded by smaller white diamonds, each stone perfectly cut and positioned to catch the light in the most spectacular way. The necklace had been a gift from King Charles during their early days of marriage, purchased from the most exclusive jeweler in London. Camilla had worn it to state dinners, royal weddings, and important ceremonies. It was more than just jewelry to her. It represented her place in the royal family and her husband's love and respect for her position as queen consort. As she fastened the clasp behind her neck, Camilla felt a sense of confidence wash over her. The weight of the necklace felt reassuring, and she knew it would photograph beautifully at today's event. She had specifically chosen her outfit to complement the necklace, a deep navy dress that would make the sapphires appear even more brilliant. The charity gala was being held at a prestigious London hotel, and Camilla was expected to give a speech about the importance of supporting disadvantaged youth. She had spent hours preparing her remarks, wanting to make a meaningful impact. The cause was close to her heart, as she had grown up understanding the struggles that many young people faced. Her lady-in-waiting knocked softly on the door, announcing that the car was ready. Camilla took one final look in the mirror, adjusting the necklace slightly so it sat perfectly against her collarbone. She grabbed her matching clutch bag and headed toward the palace entrance, where her security detail was waiting. The royal protection officers were a familiar sight around the palace. These were highly trained individuals responsible for the safety of the royal family. They took their duties very seriously, and protocol was everything to them. Among them was Officer Matthews, a stern-faced man in his 40s who had been with the Royal Protection Unit for over 15 years. He was known for his strict adherence to rules and his no-nonsense approach to security matters. As Camilla approached her waiting vehicle, Officer Matthews stepped forward with an unusual expression on his face. Instead of his typical respectful nod, he appeared nervous and uncomfortable. He cleared his throat and asked to speak with Her Majesty privately for a moment. Camilla was surprised by the request, but agreed, stepping slightly away from the other staff members. Officer Matthews then delivered news that completely shocked her. He explained that there had been a special directive issued that morning regarding the necklace she was wearing. According to the instruction he had received, the necklace was to be immediately removed and handed over to Princess Anne's staff. The queen consort's face flushed with confusion and anger. She demanded to know who had issued such an order and why she had not been informed earlier. Officer Matthews could only repeat that he was following direct orders and that the necklace needed to be surrendered immediately. Camilla's mind raced with questions. Why would Princess Anne need her necklace? Why hadn't anyone discussed this with her beforehand? The timing seemed deliberately chosen to embarrass her, and she couldn't understand what could possibly justify such an unusual request. The confrontation began quietly, with Camilla trying to maintain her composure while firmly refusing to comply. She explained that the necklace was her personal property and that she had every right to wear it to the charity event. Officer Matthews, however, remained unmoved by her protests, citing security protocols and direct orders from higher authorities. As the conversation continued, other palace staff began to notice the unusual delay. Several ladies-in-waiting exchanged worried glances, and the driver remained in the car, unsure of what was happening. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense as Camilla realized that Officer Matthews was not going to back down from his position. The situation escalated when Camilla discovered that Princess Anne was apparently waiting to receive the necklace for her own engagement later that day. This revelation made the whole situation even more infuriating to the Queen Consort. She couldn't believe that her sister-in-law would make such a request without speaking to her directly, and she was appalled that it was being handled through security personnel rather than through proper royal channels. Camilla's voice began to rise as she expressed her outrage at being treated like a child who couldn't be trusted with her own jewelry. She pointed out that she was the Queen Consort and deserved to be treated with appropriate respect and dignity. The idea that her personal belongings could be confiscated without her consent was absolutely unacceptable to her. Officer Matthews found himself in an extremely uncomfortable position. He was trained to follow orders without question, but he was also aware that he was dealing with a very angry member of the royal family. His attempts to explain that he was simply following protocol only seemed to make Camilla more frustrated and angry. The confrontation continued to build, with neither side willing to compromise. Camilla insisted on her rights as Queen Consort, while Officer Matthews maintained that he had no choice but to follow the orders he had been given. The whole situation was becoming increasingly embarrassing for everyone involved, and it was clear that something would have to give soon. The royal confrontation escalates. The tension in the palace courtyard reached a breaking point as Queen Camilla's patience finally snapped. Her voice echoed off the stone walls as she raised it higher than anyone had ever heard her speak before. Palace staff members who were passing by stopped in their tracks, shocked to witness such an unprecedented scene. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Camilla shouted, her face red with anger and embarrassment. "I will not be treated like some common criminal who has stolen jewelry. This necklace belongs to me, and I have every right to wear it wherever I choose." Officer Matthews remained stoic, despite the uncomfortable situation. He had dealt with difficult situations before, but never had he been required to confiscate personal jewelry from a member of the royal family. His training had prepared him for many scenarios, but this particular confrontation was testing his professional limits. "Your Majesty, I understand your frustration," he said in a measured tone, "but I have my orders. The necklace must be surrendered immediately, and I cannot allow you to leave the palace while wearing it." The implications of his words hit Camilla like a physical blow. She realized that she was essentially being held prisoner in her own home until she complied with this outrageous demand. The thought of missing the charity gala because of this ridiculous situation made her even more furious. Several palace staff members had gathered at a respectful distance, pretending to go about their duties while actually witnessing this extraordinary confrontation. Word was already spreading through the palace corridors about the Queen Consort's angry outburst and the strange situation with her necklace. Camilla's lady-in-waiting approached cautiously, offering to help resolve the situation. She suggested that perhaps there had been some misunderstanding and that a quick phone call to the appropriate authorities might clear everything up. However, Officer Matthews insisted that his orders were crystal clear and that no amount of discussion would change the situation. The Queen Consort demanded to speak with whoever had issued the order for her necklace to be confiscated. She wanted answers about why Princess Anne needed her specific piece of jewelry and why this request couldn't have been handled through proper royal channels. The secrecy and sudden nature of the demand felt deliberately humiliating to her. Officer Matthews explained that he had been told the necklace was needed for an important royal engagement that Princess Anne was attending later that day. According to his briefing, there had been a mix-up with Princess Anne's own jewelry, and the Queen Consort's necklace was the only suitable replacement available. This explanation only made Camilla angrier. She couldn't believe that Princess Anne would solve her jewelry problems by simply taking someone else's most prized possession. The lack of communication and respect shown in this situation was completely unacceptable to her. If Princess Anne needed jewelry, she could have asked me directly like a civilized person, Camilla exclaimed. Instead, she sends security guards to confiscate my property like I'm some sort of servant. The confrontation attracted more attention as additional palace staff began to gather. Some pretended to be busy with their duties, while others watched openly from windows and doorways. Everyone knew they were witnessing something that would be talked about for years to come. Officer Matthews tried once more to explain that he was simply following orders and had no personal involvement in the decision. He emphasized that his job was to ensure compliance with security protocols, regardless of his personal feelings about the situation. However, his professional demeanor did little to calm Camilla's growing rage. The Queen Consort began to pace back and forth, her expensive heels clicking loudly on the stone pavement. She was clearly struggling to process the absurdity of the situation while maintaining some semblance of royal dignity. The fact that she was being treated this way in front of palace staff was particularly galling to her. As the standoff continued, Camilla's anger began to mix with genuine hurt feelings. She felt betrayed by Princess Anne's apparent lack of respect for her position and their relationship as sisters-in-law. The way this situation was being handled suggested a level of disregard that cut her deeply. "I have given years of service to this family and this country," Camilla said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I deserve better treatment than this. I will not be bullied into surrendering my personal property without a proper explanation and apology." Officer Matthews found himself in an increasingly difficult position. He could see that the Queen Consort was genuinely distressed, but he also knew that he had to follow his orders regardless of the personal cost. His superiors had been very clear about the importance of retrieving the necklace. The situation reached a new level of intensity when Camilla realized that her charity engagement would have to be canceled if this confrontation continued much longer. The thought of disappointing the young people who were counting on her appearance made her even more determined to resist what she saw as an unreasonable demand. She pointed out that hundreds of people were expecting her at the charity gala, and that canceling her appearance would reflect poorly on the entire royal family. The irony of missing a charitable event because of an internal royal family dispute was not lost on her. Officer Matthews acknowledged her concerns but remained firm in his position. He suggested that the matter could be resolved quickly if she would simply remove the necklace and allow him to deliver it to Princess Anne's staff. Then she could select alternative jewelry and proceed with her planned engagement. Camilla's response was swift and emphatic. She absolutely refused to be dictated to about her choice of jewelry, especially when the demand came through security channels rather than through proper royal communication. The principle of the matter had become more important to her than the practical solution. The confrontation was now drawing attention from beyond the immediate palace staff. Word of the unusual situation was spreading, and there was a real risk that news of the incident might reach the media. This possibility added another layer of urgency and concern to an already complicated situation. The explosive confrontation and resolution. The situation reached its dramatic climax when Queen Camilla completely lost her composure. Her voice rose to a level that shocked everyone present, echoing through the palace courtyard with an intensity that no one had ever witnessed from her before. "I will not tolerate this treatment any longer," she screamed at Officer Matthews, her face flushed with rage and humiliation. "You have no right to treat me like a common thief. Get away from me this instant." The force of her outburst stunned everyone within earshot. Palace staff members who had been discreetly watching the confrontation now stared openly in shock. Never before had anyone witnessed the Queen Consort lose control so completely, and the raw emotion in her voice was both frightening and heartbreaking. Officer Matthews took an involuntary step backward, clearly shaken by the intensity of her reaction. Despite his years of training and experience, he had never been prepared for this level of confrontation with a member of the royal family. His professional composure was being tested to its absolute limits. "Your Majesty, please," he attempted to say. But Camilla cut him off immediately. "No! I refuse to listen to another word!" she shouted, pointing an accusing finger at him. "You are nothing but a bully in a uniform, and I will not be intimidated by you or anyone else." The Queen Consort's emotional breakdown was complete and devastating to witness. Years of maintaining royal dignity and composure had been shattered in this moment of extreme provocation. Her hands shook with anger as she clutched the disputed necklace protectively. At that moment, King Charles himself appeared in the palace entrance, having heard the commotion from inside. His face showed a mixture of concern and bewilderment as he took in the scene before him. The sight of his wife in such distress, surrounded by staff and security, clearly alarmed him greatly. "What on earth is happening here?" the king demanded as he approached the group. His presence immediately changed the dynamic of the confrontation as Officer Matthews snapped to attention and the gathered staff members quickly dispersed to give the royal couple privacy. Camilla immediately turned to her husband, tears of frustration streaming down her face. "Charles, this man is trying to steal my necklace on behalf of your sister. He refuses to let me leave the palace unless I surrender my jewelry to Anne." The king's expression darkened as he processed his wife's words. He looked between Camilla and Officer Matthews with growing confusion and anger. "Is this true, officer? Are you preventing my wife from attending her scheduled engagement?" Officer Matthews found himself in the most difficult position of his career. He had to explain to the king himself why he was essentially holding the Queen Consort prisoner over a piece of jewelry. His voice trembled slightly as he began to explain the orders he had received. "Sir, I was instructed by my superiors to retrieve the necklace Her Majesty is wearing and deliver it to Princess Anne's staff immediately. I was told it was a matter of urgent royal protocol." King Charles listened to this explanation with growing disbelief and anger. He demanded to know exactly who had issued such orders and why he had not been informed of this unusual situation. The king's protective instincts toward his wife were clearly aroused by what he was hearing. As the truth began to emerge, it became clear that there had been a serious miscommunication somewhere in the royal household. Princess Anne's staff had apparently made an informal request for the loan of jewelry, which had been misinterpreted and escalated into a security matter without proper authorization. The king immediately took control of the situation, ordering Officer Matthews to stand down and apologizing to his wife for the confusion and embarrassment she had endured. His anger at the mishandling of the situation was evident, and he promised that there would be consequences for those responsible for the mix-up. Camilla's anger slowly began to subside as her husband took charge, but the emotional damage had been done. She felt humiliated that so many palace staff had witnessed her breakdown, and she was devastated by the way she had been treated. The incident had shaken her confidence in her position within the royal family. King Charles personally escorted his wife back into the palace, his arm around her shoulders as she continued to tremble with residual anger and upset. He assured her that he would get to the bottom of the situation and that nothing like this would ever happen again. The aftermath of the confrontation was swift and decisive. Within hours, a full investigation was launched into how such a serious miscommunication had occurred. Several staff members were reprimanded for their roles in escalating the situation, and new protocols were established to prevent similar incidents in the future. Princess Anne herself was horrified when she learned what had happened in her name. She immediately called Camilla to apologize profusely and to explain that she had never intended for such drastic action to be taken. Her original request had been casual and informal, never meant to be enforced through security channels. Officer Matthews faced a formal review of his actions, though it was ultimately determined that he had been following orders as he understood them. However, he was reassigned to different duties to avoid any further awkwardness with the Queen Consort. The incident became a turning point in how royal family communications were handled. New procedures were established to ensure that any requests or directives involving personal property were properly authorized and communicated through appropriate channels. For Camilla, the experience was deeply traumatic and embarrassing. She struggled with feelings of vulnerability and loss of dignity for weeks afterward. However, the strong support shown by her husband and the sincere apologies from those involved helped her gradually recover her confidence. The charity gala had to be postponed due to the incident, but when it was rescheduled, Camilla wore the disputed necklace with pride and dignity. Her speech that evening included subtle references to the importance of clear communication and mutual respect, themes that resonated deeply with the audience. The story of the necklace confrontation became legendary within palace circles, serving as a cautionary tale about the importance of proper protocol and communication. It also demonstrated that even members of the royal family have their breaking points and deserve to be treated with basic human dignity and respect. In the end, the incident strengthened the bond between King Charles and Queen Camilla, as he had shown unwavering support for her during one of her most difficult moments. It also led to improvements in royal household management that benefited everyone involved in the complex world of palace life.